Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Over 100 episodes, almost 40 different ethnic backgrounds, living in almost 30 different countries. In just 2 seasons, the Niqabi Diaries podcast has brought you the stories of Muslim women across the globe, women united in sisterhood by their commitment to the Deen of Islam. Welcome to Season 3 of the Niqabi Diaries podcast, where, inshallah, we will continue to bring you the stories of the women behind the veil. The Niqabi Diaries, our experiences, our perspectives, our voices. I'm your host, Samar, and thank you for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Niqabi Diaries, Season 3. And just a quick reminder, we also have a new blog now. You can get the link in the description, inshallah. So please do check it out. I write about issues related to the niqab, hijab, Muslim women, and any other relevant issues, inshallah. So today we have a sister with us. I've been very excited to talk to this sister, actually looking forward to talking to her for quite some time. Sister Omera, could you please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little bit about your Islamic background, inshallah?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Omera Ali, and a little bit about myself. I'm a personal trainer / boxing coach. That's what I do for a living. I've actually been Muslim for 7 years now. I've actually rocked the niqab for 5 years, alhamdulillah. So I'm currently a new mom and loving that life right now. And what is there else you guys want to know?
Well, actually, since you said you're a revert, could you tell us how you came to Islam? That would be nice.
Okay, so actually, I guess I was a boxer at the time when I actually like embraced Islam, and there was a lot of things going on that I'm like, you know what, I just got to get back right with God. And, I grew up a Christian, so I went to the Bible to try to find answers of what I should be doing with my life and stuff like that. And I actually wasn't like when I was reading, like it was nothing that was like as far as guidance. It was just like a lot of inspirational stuff, but not guidance. And it was an app at the time. It wasn't like a physical Bible. So I went to the app store, tried to download a different Bible because there's many different versions of the Bible. And I thought maybe I wasn't reading the right Bible. And then the Quran was suggested. So I'm like, what's the Quran, So I downloaded it. And, the first page that I read, which was Surah Fatiha. Mm-hmm. It was like, I need to find out more about what this book is, because it was like, it answered a lot of my questions just within Fatiha. Like who my creator was, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Like I'm asking for guidance in that particular ayah. I mean, sort of, and I'm asking to be like those that were guided before me and stuff like that. So it really was intriguing, and I wanted to find out more. And that same day, I did a lot of research online and found out about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And my only concern was if there was worship of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like because in Christianity they kind of worship Jesus, so I didn't want the same dynamic. So I went online, started asking questions. I was like, hey, do you guys worship Muhammad? And it was like, no, we don't worship Muhammad. We worship the creator of heavens and earth. We worship the one true God. And I was like, okay, how do I become Muslim? And that's all I wanted to hear. Like, we don't worship a man, because it just never felt right for me worshiping Jesus, saying that he was my Lord and Savior. I never felt right growing up. So that's basically how I became a Muslim. I read Surah Fatiha, and it made sense to me. And that's all it took for me.
SubhanAllah, that's amazing. So how long a period of time was you actually learning about Islam before you took your Shahada?
I had no idea what Islam was, no idea what Muslims was, didn't know what a hijab was, didn't know what nothing. Like I was so totally oblivious to Islam, and I only came across it by doing that little bit, like maybe 30-minute research. Because I was already like growing up, I was already, someone who went to church a lot. It was very like devout Christian. You would consider a devout Christian, but it was just that dynamic of worshiping Jesus that didn't sit well. So I was familiar with the names that were being mentioned, in the Quran, Abraham, Noah, Moses. I was familiar with those people, you know. So it, I didn't have any knowledge of Islam beforehand, before I came across the Quran.
SubhanAllah, that's amazing. That is really amazing, SubhanAllah. So, okay, this might sound like a stupid question, but I've been born and raised in Britain. So I always ask, African American sisters when I speak with them, like especially reverts, because you mentioned that you didn't know anything about Islam at all. And for us in the UK, we always think that the African Americans have they have some kind of clue about Islam because Muhammad Ali, the boxer, and other African American like prominent Muslims, so yeah, like how is it that you didn't know anything about Islam? It's still surprising to us when we hear this kind of thing.
Yeah, so yeah, you know what, why? Because the way Islam was looked at, when it came to like the Malcolm X's, the Muhammad Ali's, they were a part of Islam that isn't considered a real Islam. It was more like a brotherhood type thing. So when people in the African American community saw people who were Nation of Islam, it wasn't like, oh, that's a religion. It was more like, oh, this is a Black Power group. This is a group of men, a group of people that's trying to uplift the Black community, and we don't correlate it with believing in one God, worshiping a true God, giving sadaqah, going to Hajj. That's not what we think about when we think of those type of Muslims. So that's the type of Muslim Muhammad Ali was at first. And that's the type of Muslim that I was aware of. Also Malcolm X, I didn't learn that he became a real Muslim, a true Muslim, until I actually became Muslim. I was thinking Nation of Islam. So it's a big community of what they call a Nation of Islam here in the US that gets confused with the true Islam.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense to me because the same thing, I had a similar experience when I became Muslim. That's what my parents believed as well. They believed that, Malcolm X and, Muhammad Ali, that they was like part of Nation of Islam. And then they thought, because I'd become Muslim, that I was also joining Nation of Islam. And I had to tell them, well, no, that's not real Islam at all. So yeah, that makes sense now saying that, subhanAllah. So it's amazing because obviously these people, Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, they've left a legacy, but still like there's still like, I suppose, some doubts, from non-Muslims in the community over like which Islam they're really following. This is what happens when there's, some kind of like crossover with truth and falsehood, I suppose, because of how they started off, but then how they ended up, the people who aren't Muslim wouldn't know how to differentiate between the two.
That's absolutely correct. Like, a lot of people, once I told them I was Muslim, there's a popular speaker. I don't want to call it. They call him a reverend, which is a church terminology, but he's the top guy for the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
And people think like, oh, you're a follower of Louis Farrakhan. I was like, no, like I feel like he's really a Christian concealing himself as a Muslim through the Nation of Islam, because it's a lot of things that are said. I'm like, that's not Islam. And I was like only a year or two into Islam, knowing some of the stuff he was saying was just ridiculous. So I'm just like, it's crazy. A lot of people think I became Nation of Islam. And I'm just like, no, because they equate African Americans, Islam, you Nation of Islam. Like that's how it is, Just how, people look at Islam like, oh, are you Arab? Thinking like that's an Arab thing,
Yeah.
So that's how they look at Black Muslims, as people that are associated with the Nation of Islam. So I can totally relate with that.
Yeah, subhanAllah. So tell us about your journey to the hijab and the niqab, inshallah. How was that for you, especially coming from the background of being a boxer? What was kind of your style of dressing as well? Like, did you find it easy to transition to start covering?
Well, actually, it wasn't easy, but when I first became Muslim, I didn't know about hijab or anything like that. I didn't know about covering. Like I told you, I didn't know too much about Islam. I found out about praying the same day that I found out about Islam, like the website. That was the group I was talking to. They were called Ask a Muslim, and I actually work with this organization now. We go out and give dawah to people, but they they were telling me like, just worry about praying, just learn who your creator is, and just worry about praying, and worry about anything else, everything else to come. So that's all I worried about. I started a new job, and it was two Muslim girls that walked in, and one had a hijab on, one didn't. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen like hijabs before, and I'm like, was very curious. I went up to them like, "Are you guys Muslim?" And they said yes. And I said, "I'm Muslim too, mind you. I'm dressed in like business casual,
Mm-hmm.
button up, you know, just not looking like a Muslim at all." And one of them, the one that didn't have a hijab on, she looked me up and down and said, "No, you're not." And that's put a fire in me. Like,
Mm,
what? How can you dare say I'm not Muslim? Like, I took my shahada, I pray 5 times a day. I know how to do. I was spitting out everything that I knew, and I
mm,
had only been Muslim for about 3 weeks at that time. You
subhanallah.
know, yeah, three or 4 weeks. It was not even a month yet. And this lady came out of nowhere saying I'm not Muslim. And now I understand why she didn't believe I was Muslim, because I didn't have a hijab on, the way I just carried myself. It wasn't like, oh, a Muslim.
Subhanallah. But
So
even so, there's so many Muslims who don't wear hijab anyways, even born
yeah,
Muslims. And like,
and she
that's
wasn't
the
wearing a
thing.
hijab. you know,
Subhanallah.
the
It's
one
just
that
like,
wasn't wearing a hijab was
wow.
the
So
one that
it was
made that
she,
claim, which was so funny to me.
wow.
Yeah.
So you just didn't look Muslim enough for her then. You
So
got the
so
right
what?
shade.
Right.
Subhanallah. That's terrible.
So what intrigued me to want to wear the hijab was how she saw that I was devout in my prayers and stuff. I'm like, hey, talking to the boss, like, hey, supervisor, I gotta go pray. Nobody else. It was a bunch of Muslims that worked there, but nobody else was like, hey, I gotta go pray. You
Hmm.
know. And a couple of days later, she came with some information and stuff like that. The next week, she came. She started wearing her hijab. Like, she came in and started wearing her hijab, and she started talking to me about the hijab, and I was like, well, look, why do you wear it? Why do you wear it? Because I don't understand why I'm wearing it. Like, I said, the one thing that I don't want to do with being a Muslim is just follow the in crowd like I did with
Yeah.
my Christianity faith.
Hmm.
Like, it was just like, I don't want to do anything without understanding fully why I'm doing it. I understood fully why I became a Muslim, because I was
Yes.
worshiping the one God. That's why I became Muslim. I didn't become Muslim because I wanted to marry some guy, or I wanted to be associated with a rich family or something. Whatever reasons, I just knew that God was guiding me at that moment. So I didn't want to pick up anything else. So when she went and researched the reason and why she, was wearing a hijab, and she brought the information to me, then I'm like, okay, let me just wear a small hijab. I was just wearing a little small ninja, the one that goes under the scarf,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even a hijab.
Hmm.
And just just wearing that, still with my business casual, you know. But then I saw that people started acting a little differently around me in a positive way. They started opening doors for me. They started pulling out the chair for me to sit down. They just started acting differently because
Subhanallah.
I carried myself different. So
Mm.
I'm like, okay. So I'm like, maybe I should wear a better looking hijab. So I graduated to the Kumar. And then, again, people were just having a positive vibe from me. 2 years later, eventually, I'm like every layer of clothing, every layer of cloth, like the hijab to the kamar to the jilbab to the actual niqab. I'm like, this was showing my level of faith, my level of commitment to the creator. I'm
Hmm.
like, because it takes a lot of guts, in today's society in America, being black as well,
Hmm.
and you walk around looking like you from Saudi Arabia, you must be crazy.
Subhanallah.
So it took a lot of gaining knowledge about what I was doing, why I was doing it, that eventually I got to be able to embrace the hijab just from gaining knowledge, not because someone told me to do it, but because I understood why I was doing it.
SubhanAllah. No, that's really beautiful. So when did you finally put the niqab on, and what was your first experience like?
Okay, so I know the exact day, that I was like, you know what, I'm wearing the niqab and I'm never taking it off, unless for health reasons or something. But It was January, like I became Muslim January 26th of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
January 6th of 2017, I put the niqab on. I was messing with it, like playing with it, you know, like take it off when I'm in public, but putting it on behind closed doors, seeing how I look. Sometimes I would wear it to the masjid or something, but January 6th of 2017 is when I was like, okay, I'm going to keep the niqab on because I can't play with this. If I say I'm doing this for the creator, I have to be all in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So where did you get your first niqab then? Like,
Actually, it was donated by the same sister that when I first met her, and we actually became good friends.
mm-hmm.
But she gave me my first niqab,
Alhamdulillah.
and I didn't purchase like when she saw that I was really serious about it. She went and bought me a lot of niqabs, and you know, kind of like helped me along with that because she down the line became a niqabi too.
Alhamdulillah.
So it was really nice to have someone else that was like right there with you as well. You know, it wasn't like I was the only niqabi,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for miles. Like she was right there with me. We worked together, you know, we hung together like everywhere. We would go riding bikes together with our niqabs on. We would go
MashaAllah.
bowling together, go skating together with our niqabs on. So we could continue to be ourselves, just had the niqab on.
Alhamdulillah. That's good.
So she actually was the first one to give me a niqab. Like I had created myself niqab, like put little coverings on my face and stuff. I didn't really have an official one.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Girl, I'm gonna get you a niqab. I see you really want to do this. I'm gonna get you a niqab."
Yeah. SubhanAllah. So, okay, I haven't asked you about your family yet. And obviously, you said that you come from a Christian background. And I also come from a
Yeah.
Christian background as well. And when I became Muslim, it did not go down very well. So, how was your experience like coming to Islam and in a short space of time, then started to, wearing hijab and then niqab and everything? How did your family react?
Well, you know what? I was the person in the family that was going through all these different phases anyway. So they looked at it as a phase. But now that I'm like going 7 years strong, they like,
Mhm.
okay, this is really how she is, like, you know, and they've embraced it. You know, they don't speak bad about me or anything like that. Um, they just feel like it was something that they would have seen me be a part of, you know, from a young age anyway. It just seemed like it fits me, it suits me.
Alhamdulillah.
That's how they look at it.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Great. So, have you ever faced any kind of abuse for wearing it at all, like from anyone in, the community or where you live?
Um, I can only recall like a couple times where, you know, people on the street like, go back to your country. If only you knew, you
Yeah.
know, my country was here. I was like,
Mhm.
you know, help me get my round trip ticket, you know?
Do you know what I mean?
I'll 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 go back to my country. I gotta go somewhere first to go back to my country because I am in my country.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Okay, so I want to ask about the boxing. Okay, I'm desperate to know more about boxing, and obviously because you become Muslim, so I've done boxing before, like just it's training and stuff like that. And I know a lot of Muslims, like where I was living previously, that was involved in boxing, brothers and sisters as well. And usually when you tell people, oh, that you do boxing, they say, oh, boxing's haram, because you're not allowed to hit in the face, okay? So we just say to
Right.
them, well, we're doing the training. It's part of like learning self-defense and things like that, help to build your confidence and these kind of things. So how do you navigate as a coach? Because that was your job previously. How has the transition been for you as a coach, coming as a non-Muslim coach, and now you're a Muslim? Like, how do you kind of navigate those two things at the moment with your clients?
Well, you know, this is one of the things that I'm like, that's one of the reasons that I kind of stopped boxing for myself. But then again, it wasn't clear to me, you know, besides the one hadith that's saying that it wasn't clear to me, like, is this in the case of you fighting another Muslim brother or another Muslim sister? Or, you know, it was just, it wasn't unambiguous. Like, look, it was clear, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like everything that's haram is straight black and white, everything that's halal, straight black and white. But there was some gray area with that particular thing. You know, if we're doing it for sport, like, is it, you know, it was something that kind of got me away from training and being
Yeah.
a competitor myself to just coaching it,
Yeah.
you know. And I was like, is it haram for me to coach someone that wants to pursue that career? You know, like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not clear. No, we're supposed to stay away from stuff if it's unclear.
Doubtful, yeah.
But it's something I'm willing to stand on Judgment Day. Like, look, I was trying to use this platform to promote Islam because it's not being promoted. I'm not promoting like, oh, I need belts, I need money, I need
Yeah, yeah,
fame.
yeah.
This is not the way I'm utilizing this platform. And some people are utilizing that platform for that reason. So I'm like, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows my intentions, but it is a tough situation if like someone comes to me and it's like, you know, this haram, you know? I'm like, actually, I don't know it's haram. Please explain to me.
Yeah.
Please give me a deep, because you know how I am from the beginning of the talk. I'm like, look, you can't just tell me I can't do something, or you can't just tell me I have to do something just because people before you said it. You know, I'm a firm believer. Like, you gotta show me. Proof is in the pudding. I need your hand to be digging in that pudding and pulling out that proof.
Definitely.
That's how I think.
Definitely, subhanAllah. That's one thing, at least, that I know about and I don't even know the clear hadith as well. I can't sit here and say that I do. I've heard them, but to quote them off the top of my head now, and all I know is that it's haram to hit in the face. So when it came to the boxing, we just said, well, any sport, because I know that with a lot of scholars, they will say that it's okay to do martial arts, but then when it comes to boxing, they'll say, well, boxing is haram, and they will use the reason that, well, because boxing you're hitting in the face, but you can train in boxing without hitting people in the face, because you can just use pads and things like that. And I've never hit anybody in the face during, training and things like that, and it is obviously for self-defense purposes. So in real life, we know that in Islam, in real life, if somebody was to attack you and you hit them in the face, that's perfectly fine, because you're defending yourself, you're defending your, your rights, your family, or whatever, your property and stuff. So, it's not like a completely black and white. Obviously, you have to do it within, it should be something within reason. But yeah, alhamdulillah. So if you're just training it, inshallah, like, that's what I know, that's okay, because self-defense, even in the martial arts, I've done a bit of karate before and a bit of taekwondo, and subhanallah, like, those sports, you are taught to hit in the face as well. So it's just like, there's different, that's even kicking in the face as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, do you
not just punches, right? It's kicks. Like, I'm just like knees, elbows. Come on now.
Everything, like, literally. So that's martial arts is like well-rounded. Every part of your body will be used to inflict pain on any other part of somebody's body. So that's how it is. But yeah, boxing is obviously a lot more straightforward. So I think that's why people sometimes, I think it's like maybe misunderstanding it, but obviously I think boxing generally as well has a lot more, like, it's had a lot more popularity and been more mainstream than other martial arts. So people have seen that, and when you watch matches, or I remember, like, as a child growing up watching boxing matches and things like that, and I remember there was a boxer who actually became brain damaged because of the one of the matches he was in, and that kind of really put me off watching boxing as well. And even when I knew that the boxing for sisters was available, because of that kind of childhood experience, I didn't want to get involved in boxing, but then eventually it was recommended to me from other sisters, and I thought, let me just give it a try and see how it is. And I absolutely loved it from the first session. I just thought it was just great. So, like, I was addicted. Like, just after one session, it was just like, yeah, that's it. This is the thing, So alhamdulillah, I'm glad that I did it. And I do miss boxing with the sisters. It was just a nice experience, alhamdulillah.
I do want to build a platform where, like, we just use it for training. And like, if someone wants to compete, I'm not going to prevent them from competing. I would recommend, like, look, do your research. If you feel like, especially if they're a Muslim, you feel like, hey, this is where you want to go, this is where I stand with it. I'm not completely sure if it's haram, but there's people out there that's going to tell you what you're doing is haram, and that's where I'm gonna stand with it, because I'm not gonna say no, you can't do it. No, I'm not gonna train you, or it's haram, because I don't have enough knowledge on that subject to prevent people.
Yes, subhanAllah. So may Allah make it easy for us and increase our knowledge. I mean, So what about like your experience? Like, do you work full time as a coach, or do you have any other kind of job that you do?
Yeah, so I am a full-time coach. Like, actually, the gym that I'm working at are hiring me on to be the full-time boxing coach for the women's class. They're trying to ramp up women, you know, like classes. So they want me to be the head coach for the women's class for the boxing because I've been advocating for training women and stuff. I've been really trying to advocate for women to come in and train and get in shape and be able to defend themselves, you know? Like even if you only know how to punch, that's better than not
Better than
knowing
nothing.
anything.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Yeah.
And especially like I think for Muslim women, especially because I mean, I'm not sure what the community, the Muslim community where you are is, but is like. But you know, for a lot of Muslim women, they don't have these kind of opportunities to go to safe spaces where they can actually, you know, practice sports and things like that. So it's good when sisters are involved in these things
Exactly.
because then we have somebody like that's already like, you know, on our side basically. So it makes it easier for us to get involved in these kind of things, alhamdulillah. So how has that been as well? Like you was
Yeah.
like obviously being a non-Muslim and you was coaching and now you're wearing the niqab and everything. So like how have your non-Muslim clients you know, kind of how have they kind of been when it comes to interacting with you? Have you noticed any kind of changes? Do they find it strange or did it off-putting or anything like that?
Actually, because of my nickname or because of my coach name, I've become a little more appealing.
Okay.
Yeah, and also because I'm a female, it's like female coach got a different dynamic when they're training. But overall, I have been more of a commodity because I'm different. You know, it's like, oh my goodness, she's a good boxer, but look, she's wearing all these clothes. Like, that's crazy that she's able to do all this. So I look at it as wearing a niqab and doing this as a plus because it's not something you see all the time.
Yeah.
It'll be different if I wore hijab and not cover my face because you're starting to see a lot more Muslim women wearing a hijab and are competing in different sports.
Yeah.
But you're seeing a lot of niqabi women, especially in the US, that are competing or doing things that are related to sports.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, you know what? And I think the reason that people are intrigued to train with me is because I'm very technical. You know, some people will let you just go into the ring or go and spar or something with no foundation. You get in there and get beat up as long as you're going tough. You know what I'm saying? And that's what males do.
Yeah.
They a lot of males when it comes to these types of sports aren't very technical. They're like giving in, going there, give me grit, give me hard work, give me sweat, and that's good enough. For me, you're gonna sweat, you're gonna give me grit and stuff, but you're gonna be technically sound. I'm not gonna let you go in there and get beat up. I'm gonna let you go in there and you're gonna look nice, you're gonna look slick, you're gonna look smooth, and you're still gonna be able to do what you gotta do.
Alhamdulillah. So what about how would you describe the niqab as being a barrier? And if so, in which sense?
Okay, I'm not gonna get a typical answer. I look at it as a positive barrier because it has prevented so many situations of misconduct between a man and me that I
Yes.
see that other women get. And I'm just like, this same man that was saying horrible things to this one woman talked very respectfully to me, you know? And that's the type of barrier it's been. It's been a good barrier. It's been a barrier to block out that type of interaction. It's helped me more than it's harmed me. The only time it really harmed me is when I first started transitioning into being a like an athlete. I didn't really have like, because I don't use the niqab when I'm in the gym. I got like these little things I found on Amazon that are breathable that like motorcyclists use under
Yeah,
their
the
helmets.
masks.
Yeah, so I kind of use that now. But before it was very hard for me to breathe. It was like, but because I'm like, well, why am I wearing it? I kept going back to why am I wearing it? So that barrier just went away. It's like, oh, it's no longer a hindrance to me. Because then I'm in the midst of working out, like, oh my goodness, I can't breathe. I'm gonna take this off. And I'm thinking like, but why do you got it on? I always go back to what was my reasoning for putting it on? And you're gonna take it off so you can just take a couple of, you know, gags of air and
Yeah,
that's it.
subhanallah,
I'm
yeah.
like, it's not worth it. So I'm just like, I stay grounded with that, but the barrier isn't a bad one for me.
Okay, alhamdulillah. And what about travel? Have you experienced traveling at all wearing the niqab?
Yeah, you know what? It wasn't like overseas or anything, but it was from Boston to Ohio where I live.
Okay.
And it was just like I was going through the line. There was this lady that had a hat on, had a scarf on, like a regular headscarf, you know. She was in front of me. You know, she went right through. And when I went through, they pulled me aside. I'm just like, I was recording myself standing in the line, you know,
Yeah.
like, look, you guys, I'm about to go through the metal detector. This is my first time as Niqabi, you know, let's see how it goes. And they gave me the shakedown. They gave me the
Wow.
shakedown. It was crazy, feeling all in my hair. It was like, oh, what's that? What's the what? I mean,
Subhanallah.
it's like that's my hair, you know, like it was like, oh, and what about this part? And I was just like, why are y'all doing this? It's like, no, this is just procedure. I'm like, for who?
Wow.
You didn't shake this other lady. Like I really had to get a shakedown. But traveling is definitely something that, you know, just based off that experience, like I know it's gonna be an issue if I travel by plane
Mm.
in the future.
Inshallah,
But
inshallah, it will be better. I hope not, because I've spoken
yeah,
to a few sisters from the States, and it's like it seems kind of almost 50-50, and maybe depending on which airport you
uh,
go to. Some places people are really you know, people like the sisters have gone through quite easily, and in some cases they haven't. So I think it just depends. So subhanAllah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It depends
yeah,
who you encounter on the day, maybe. I don't know, subhanAllah. And there's just some people, they just literally get pulled every time they
yeah,
go to the airport, regardless.
yeah.
Yes.
So I haven't been enough. You know, I do a lot of road travel, but I haven't been, you know, like on a plane a lot since I've worn the car. I've done a lot of just road over the road
Yeah.
travel. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, inshallah. So yeah, so in your experience with the Muslim community, have you noticed any difference in how sisters who wear the hijab get treated compared to sisters who wear the niqab?
Um, you know what? When I first started wearing the niqab, like I was being told left and right not to wear it. Like I shouldn't wear it. It's not a requirement. It's not an obligation. Like take it off. You putting yourself in danger. I was being really like they were neglecting the fact that I was doing it because I wanted to, and they were just discouraging me from wearing it. As far as like the comparison of hijabis to niqabis, I haven't experienced a big difference except for like they kind of interact with me a little more respectful than I would say a hijabi, and usually because it's a hijabi that's got like full blown makeup on and eyelashes and stuff like that, and they see me and they're like, oh, she's modest, she's more modest. So maybe in that sense, but not a whole lot. I have seen it on occasions, like how some brothers interact with me, some sisters interact with me in a masjid. Once they, you know, they see you in a Niqabi, you know, they interact with you a little different, but not in a not in a big dynamic way. Not a whole lot, to be honest.
Okay, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And just in general as well, how do you feel that you've blended into the Muslim community, like from, you know, your non-Muslim background? How has that been?
Um, I guess I fit in quite well because I was already quite learned on all the prophets and a lot of the history of our prophets and stuff like that. That's what helped me, you know, compared to someone who he didn't have a religious background. So that helped me because like the stories were similar. Maybe they had to be tweaked a little bit
Yeah.
because the Christian belief, but I was able to like kind of like blend in because of that. You know,
Mhm.
I believe if I didn't have a religious background, it would have been a little harder for me learning everything, you know, talking to people about certain things and It's actually helped me to be able to be a part of a dawah group where they embrace me. They embrace me like, look, you know a lot about Christianity, so we need you to be an advocate, to speak, you know, to these Christians and let them know why, like, you became Muslim. Why did you become Muslim? You know, like, so that's really helped me out. Having a Christian background helped me blend in with the community.
Alhamdulillah, that's really good. Alhamdulillah. So, what about your experience with Muslim sisters? Have you met any sisters who were forced into wearing the niqab?
Actually, I do know a sister, but she just recently put it back on. Like, she was a refugee from Somalia.
Okay.
And I guess they were wearing a niqab for, you know, their teenage years. They were wearing a niqab in their teenage years. And their dad, once they moved to the States, they were like, no, you can't wear it. You can't wear it. I refuse to let you wear it. All three of the sisters wore niqabs, and he told them that they were not allowed to wear it.
Right.
But as they got older, you know, they got married and stuff like that. One of the sisters was like, you know what? Because she sees me, I come over all the time, and she see that I'm not really struggling. I don't. She would ask. She would ask, like, you know, no one gives you a hard time. Like, you know, how is it wearing the niqab? You know, and around the time that she really wanted to put it back on, she was really diligent about asking me questions about the niqab. Where did you get your niqab from? You know, you don't get hot or anything like that. I'm like, you used to wear the niqab, you know these things. And she was like, yeah, it's been a while. Next thing I know, she's wearing the niqab again. So alhamdulillah, she did it for herself, did it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and didn't do it for her parents. That's the only person that I've come across that was actually forced to take it off. Wow. No one that I know that was like forced to put it on, though.
Okay, alhamdulillah, mashallah, tabarakallah. That's really good. So you've even helped to inspire other sisters, mashallah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
That's really good, alhamdulillah. So what advice would you give to sisters who, you know, like similar to what you just mentioned, who they really want to wear the niqab, but they don't feel the confidence to wear it?
Okay. The first thing with anything that I would advise, not just wearing a niqab, but with anything, is make your intentions for yourself and for the Creator. Anything that, whatever you're doing, any big step you want to take in your life, that you're doing it for the sake of God, and then it will be easy for you, because then you won't care about the judgment of your family, the judgment of the society, the judgment of your spouse or whatever. You know, if you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be easy for you. It will be easy. I know for sure it will be easy. That's the advice I would give. Like, make your intentions, not because you like the way it looks. You think you're going to get a husband quicker that way, or you want men to avoid you or whatever. Make your intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to please him. Like, I'm doing this to please you. So can you please make it easy for me? And it will be granted to you. Inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. And lastly, sister, what does the niqab mean to you?
It actually means it means perseverance to me. Like, anyone who is, you know, all the sisters that are wearing the niqab, whether it's their choice or they just grew up in the culture, it takes a certain type of mindset, a certain type of perseverance, a certain level of patience to be able to wear something that the whole world say, you know, has an issue with. This is, and also some people think it's a obligation. Some others think it's optional, but it's still that dynamic that, like, it's a difficulty that a certain mindset has to have. So you have to have that level of perseverance, and that's what it means to me. Like, I'm persevering every day. I'm struggling, you know, I'm persevering, and that's what it means to me.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah, tabarakallah. Jazakallah khair, sister. Thank you so much for giving your time. It's a pleasure talking to you and listening to your really inspiring story, mashallah.
I appreciate you having me, alhamdulillah. I really enjoyed talking with you, and look forward to maybe having future chats with you, inshallah.
Inshallah, absolutely.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sister.